We have massive news right now, which is student visas are now going to be subject to these caps. I'm sure you've heard about it, but what you're not being told about it is that the applications were already plummeting before they announced this cap. So once again, as everything with the Trudeau government, it is nothing but virtue signaling when it comes to the cap that they have announced. Although the one thing that was good that they did announce is that they're not going to be issuing these postgraduate work permits to these private colleges that are taking advantage of a loophole in the student visa system to essentially sell people permanent residence. And anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but I am going to get to the economic consequences of what's happening and why it's happening. So first of all, let's start off by talking about why it's happening. The reason why this is happening is because the people have worked out now that essentially they can go other places and the economy is much better. Here in Canada, as we saw in the summer, there were job lines for entry-level jobs everywhere, and most of those jobs are normally filled by students, and they are filled by students. You see students working in many low-end jobs across cities in Canada. So basically, students are filling those jobs, and they've had problems getting jobs, they've had problems with housing, they're having to live in terrible conditions. Some of them are even living in homeless shelters. So this has spread like wildfire on social media, and it was going viral throughout the summer. As you guys know, we covered the job lines many times here in Canada. Now, there's a lot of questions to whether it's political motivation or it's because of the economy. I would side mainly with the economy because we're talking about young people here, and young people generally aren't politically motivated. So I'm sure it's more economics. And basically what's happened is these people aren't coming now. And this is already beginning to have an effect, especially on rent prices in the major immigrant hubs like Calgary and Toronto, for instance. So Calgary and Toronto have seen rents fall significantly, and realtors even on X talking about how the rent market is softening and it's going far beyond what is normally seasonal here in Canada. And it's easy to see because here in Calgary, a lot of people are still moving here from different provinces, but that's not having as much of an impact. You see, when you look at migration, and Alberta is one of the best provinces for reporting the migration because they report net migration and they also split it between interprovincial and international. And you can easily see that international migration outpaces interprovincial migration. Now, I've said many times on this channel, the people coming into the country, it's widely believed that they are the ones that are putting pressure on the housing market. And I've tried to explain this the best I can, but now using this as an example, it's easy to see the facade and how this affects the housing market. Because I've always said it's not directly affecting housing prices. Students aren't coming in, they're not buying homes. Neither are internationals coming in and buying homes with no credit or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, that does happen. You do see that happen, but it's just not the case for most of the people that come. So what happens is they have a massive amount of pressure on the rental market, as I've said many times. But what also that does is it breeds speculation on housing from Canadians, because Canadians can then say, hey, well, I've got all this demand from international students, you know, I can buy this house and I can put 30 international students in there. They can be sharing mattresses and living on the floor, and I can make a ton of money. And a lot of people have done that. And not only that, a lot of people have bought apartments to share out specifically to students, and it's had a massive impact on the rental market. Its main impacts will be felt first in the rental market, and that seems to be what's happening. Now, we don't know for sure because normally, seasonally, you will see declines in rents. I have never seen rents go down this fast in Calgary in all the time I've been here, and I've been here since 2018. It is unbelievable how fast rents have gone down. And you've also got to remember, guys, Calgary has been an epicenter for speculation from people out of province. Now, this isn't the first time that Calgary has been the center for this, and it probably won't be the last either. But you've got loads of Ontario and BC people who've purchased pre-construction condos, townhomes, and single-family homes that are now completing right now, and they cannot rent them out for what the rents were 6 months ago. Not even close. You're talking about a 30% haircut. So it is a disaster are waiting in this housing market in Calgary, and it may not affect housing prices that much because the interprovincial migration has more of an impact because you have a lot of people who are emotional coming in who are buying homes. Now, obviously, to you and I, we know that if these people are working most of the low-end jobs and they're capping the numbers coming in, or the numbers are just collapsing anyway, that means that the people coming in could be way less than the cap that the government has even set. So what does this mean for all the oligarchs that basically have these massive corporations that rely on cheap labor coming in from countries like India and China to fill these entry-level positions? Well, it means it's going to put upward pressure on wages, which is going to put upward pressure on inflation, which is going to keep the Bank of Canada maintaining rates, possibly even increasing them. Now, I don't think they'll increase them anymore. I think they'll just leave them right where they are. But I can see how there's definitely going to be underlying pressures that keep inflation high with what's just been announced. You've also got to remember provinces like Ontario are going to see a 50% reduction in these students coming. So that's going to have massive consequences. Once again, it's going to have consequences for the rental market. That's going to feed into the housing market. So really, we're going to have to keep a close eye on what's going on to see whether it holds through the spring and the summer, which is the peak time when people are moving and rentals are generally flying off the market. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the declines that we've seen so far go far beyond what is seasonal. And like I said, in places like Calgary, there are massive amounts of downside risk in the housing market because places like Calgary, Halifax, Montreal, they're still in their speculative mania phase. And that is purely because they're at a lower price point. And I know it sounds ridiculous that people would just literally go, I'm going to invest there because the prices are lower. But you have to realize that the people who are investing in the housing market and are speculating are dumb. They are the dumb money. They are the stupidest people, especially the people who are operating this late in the bubble. They probably don't even know what a treasury or a bond is or a GIC, and they probably don't even know what a TFSA is either. So, you know, it's just absolutely crazy what is going on. The impacts that this is going to have are going to be felt widely across the economy. And like I said, unlike what the government is telling you, this is not because of the government. This is because of economics, and this is because Indians are smart enough to work out that they can have a better, more prosperous life in India than they can have in Canada. I mean, for example, India is a country on the rise right now. Now, it's at a lower living standard than Canada, but Canada is a country declining. India is a country rising. Totally opposite situation. And there are people making millions and millions of dollars in India right now, starting small businesses. I even watched a documentary recently about a guy who started a business picking up recycling off the streets of Delhi, and literally he has his operations in the slum of Delhi, and he's making $100,000 a month off sorting out recycling that he picks up for free off the street. So it's absolutely crazy. There is massive opportunity in India. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I know a lot of people in Western countries tend to look down on India, but they really shouldn't, because in the future, they're not going to be laughing. India is quickly rising and becoming a massive superpower, and they obviously have a massive population. So the thing is, there's still going to be people coming, just not in the numbers that we've seen. And I think that that has really had a disinflationary force on the overall economy, the amount of people that we've seen coming, these high numbers. And I really believe this is going to be felt mostly in the rental market, which will feed into the housing market. So this is good news for tenants. It's bad news for landlords. It's good news if you're waiting to buy a house, because essentially really the pressures on housing prices coming down are just mounting and ever increasing. And we haven't even got to the stage of the bubble yet where we get fear, capitulation, and tighter lending. You can use Calgary as an indicator of that, because if home prices are still rising in Calgary, then that means lenders are still willing to take on risky loans, because the type of loans and the type of people that they're lending money to are far from risk-free. They're mostly speculators, and they're renting out at a complete negative cash flow of now more than 50%. And that's the thing, guys. With these rent declines now, the gap has widened even further between buying and renting. Renting is over 50% cheaper here in Calgary than buying. Yet what do you see most interprovincial people want to do? They're coming here with one reason and one reason only, and that's to buy a house. And again, what do I say drives markets, guys? Emotions drive markets. And as I've said many times, I'm not buying in Canada, I'm not buying in Calgary, so I really don't care which direction prices go up or down. And I'm trying to be the guy who's unbiased, the only guy that's unbiased, because he doesn't own a home, he's not buying real estate. Even if prices decline by 50%, I'm not buying here. This video has took an immense amount of effort to get to you. I've deconstructed my studio. We're heading to Panama tomorrow. We finally got a Chinook that's come in today, and we've got relief from the -30, -40 that we've had past couple of weeks, and terrible air quality and smoke, if you can believe it. Just unbelievable. We'll talk about that in another video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like this video. I never say that. If you're looking for a VPN, go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. That's to get around the censorship laws that are coming in Canada, like Bill C-11. If you're looking for a video that is much like this video, check out this video here, or check out this playlist here. I want to thank you once again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.